There's been like an explosion of journals on the market, because I heard about you a while back when you did the whole Best Self Journal stuff, BestSelfCo, and there's a bunch of journals that look suspiciously a lot like exactly what you did.
Right.
Like the 13-week thing. Like I always thought like 13 is such a weird number for a number of weeks. Like 12 seems more round.
Yeah.
Like why 13? And then what the hell's with all these copycats?
Well, I came up with the term 13 weeks because there's the 12-week year. I know that's a famous book. And then if you divide literally the number of weeks in a year, it's like 13 is a quarter. And so now it's hilarious when I see these journals being advertised to me all the time. It's like 13 weeks. And I'm like, I find it funny now, but at the start I was like, it kind of pissed me off for a while. And now I kind of got over it because there's so many. Everyone and their mother has a journal. But I think, we started back in 2015 and we were the first 3-month based structure where it was a framework around getting a goal and breaking it down and exactly what you needed to get there. And I think a lot of people were like, oh, it's smart. 13 weeks, they have to buy 4 times a year. And while business-wise that made sense, like that wasn't why it was created like that. It was based on specifically a framework. And so a lot of these journals that are coming out are just like, oh, it's 13 weeks without like an actual framework. Because they're like, oh, they'll have to buy 4 times a year and blah, blah, blah. But they don't actually know where it came from. And so it's like, okay.
That's one thing I kind of didn't like about e-commerce was like the fierce competition. And I used to run a blog called nevblog.com since 2003 or 4 or something like that. And I would openly publish what I did with House of Rave. That was my most successful business that I ran. And it would piss me off because most people would be like, man, that's so inspiring. I'm going to start one selling yarn or something like that. I'm like, awesome, man.
Yeah.
And there's always some person that would exactly copy House of Rave and it'd be like homeofrave.com.
Oh, yeah.
And then they would like, my supplier would be like, hey, this person contacted me saying like the exact same email that you sent, which I like published on the web. And it was a little infuriating because I almost felt like I couldn't talk about it in public anymore. Like I had to stop talking about it so much. Do you ever feel like that? That like people just like copy the hell out of some of these products?
Literally, this person launched this Kickstarter campaign for a journal. And someone forwarded to me his launch emails, which I'm not kidding, were copied and pasted from ours. Because I shared it. I was like, this is how we launched. And so I have so many people that are like, oh, I want to launch a journal company. Who's your supplier? You know,
they ask all the questions right to you. Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't give that to anyone. And we've had our like manufacturer who we've worked with since, for over 5 years now. And that they'll get people reaching out wanting to print our journal. Because for a while we would give away the PDF for free because our whole thing was like being abundant and some people not being able to afford the journals at the start. So they would print it and they would use it and they would hit their goal and then they would come and buy a journal. And so it made sense. But then you have these like scumbags who would take that, PDF and they would try to, sometimes it would end up at our manufacturer and they would be like, no. And they would also tell us who they were. And we would email them saying like, oh, we heard you're looking for a wholesale order. Would you like to? Which they were just trying to rip us off. But it's helpful to have a manufacturer you can trust. But also, if we were still only doing journals, I would be much more concerned. But now we've evolved. So yeah, they're doing journals now. But, we're 4 years past that and are evolving with new products. So, if we had stuck there, I would have been more concerned and probably still pissed off. But now I'm like, whatever.
I want to get, that's like my next question, but I had a funny story. I used to sell these things called light up golf balls, right? And I ordered some samples of them and they're really cool. Like you push them and they're basically indestructible because they're meant for like golfing and stuff.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of people selling light up golf balls. And like, obviously you could find a lot of them on different sites than House of Rave at the time.
Yeah.
So I called them rave balls. And no one had coined the word rave balls ever. So whenever people went to search for rave balls, I was the only result on YouTube.
Nice.
Organic. But it was kind of like a hack. And I was like, it's countdown till like people discover that they're called light up golf balls.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I always found that a little bit infuriating about physical products. Like the copycats are worse. And the problem is like you would spend money to create that product. So whereas a digital product, you could kind of like, change almost right away.